to start the recording. All right, so I just want to thank you guys for being here. I hope that you guys find this useful. As summer begins to wind down, you probably are feeling a lot like me. The seasons and the moon and all that affect me a lot, and you probably are feeling that as well. So typically at this time of year, you're probably feeling a lot of frustration towards yourself and maybe even others for things that you wanted to accomplish that are kind of left unaccomplished, that they're still kind of sitting there on your to-do list, maybe even months after you put them on there. And so what I want you guys to do right now is, even if it's just for a couple minutes, even if it's just for this half hour while we're here, is to release yourself from that judgment and replace it with trust and love and understanding for your humanness, because we're all human and it's going to be okay. The seasons will change and you'll get all of that stuff accomplished whenever it's time. So I think both of you guys know me, but for anybody who is listening to this recording after the fact and doesn't know me, my name is Beth, and I use my gifts as an intuitive energy healer and love light activator and coach and author to teach women to open up their hearts to a new way of living so that they can really just truly become happy and healthy and whole. I am going to unmute you guys just for a minute here. I know both of you, but you may not know each other. So if you can take a turn, Julie, and just introduce yourself, and we've seen in the chat box why you came, but feel free to say it out loud.
Okay. I'm Julie Dickin. I live in Bailey, and I have known Beth for a really long time, and I'm super interested in learning more about these clearings and these and her healings that she does. And I mean, I'm super new to it, so I feel like I'm a novice.
It's okay. We all start somewhere. And Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Rankin. I'm in Frisco, Colorado, and I forgot the question. Oh, just sharing why I'm here. I'm sorry. I think that I really enjoy connecting with Beth and been a part of her at different stages as she's helping people. And this is the part that it just gets better and better. So I'm just excited to be here and learn from you and sharing the gifts that you have to share. So thank you.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so I just want to preface this whole thing by saying this is a non-religious event. So if you are religious, it shouldn't conflict in any way. But I do want to make sure that it is important and powerful and meaningful to you. And so just a little bit of background, I work with angels and spirit guides. Primarily, I work with lots of things, but those are the two things that I usually call in for things like this. So if you are religious and you believe in God or whatever, you can sub in those terms for your own beliefs. And if even angels is like not part of your daily life and your daily interests, then you can also sub in something else that works for you. So something like intuition or soul or higher self, whatever resonates with you. So I just want to preface with that. The only thing that I do want to add is that, and I don't think this applies to either one of you, but moving forward, again, for the recording, is that I want this to be a safe space for everybody. And so I don't deal with any dark energies. And I know some people do, and I try not to have any judgment there for that, but I don't want that in this space for the people that I have here. So if that's something that you are interested in, that's fine, but please keep it out of this circle for the safety of everybody here that may not understand how to use that energy. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. As we go through this healing exercise, I'm going to suggest that as a starting point, you close your eyes, get comfortable in your seat. Ideally, you can place your feet flat on the ground so that you feel really stable and grounded. And then you can put like one hand on your heart. For me, I usually do my right hand. And then I put my left hand on my solar plexus. So that is the space just above your belly button, right below your rib cage. So that space right there. And this is just a good place to start. You don't have to keep them here the entire time. it's a good place for people to start. And then as we go through, if you start to feel energy or emotion or anything else, tension, anything welling up in your body, you can move your hands. A lot of times it's helpful to cover that space. So if your head starts to hurt or you start to cry, or wherever that emotion is coming from, or you're feeling it, sometimes it helps to put your hands either directly on your body in that point or someplace else that feels right. All right. All right, so it looks like everybody's settled. Take a deep breath and release. At this time, I'd like to set the intention for this time and for the recording that it serves anyone who accesses it with the utmost of love and divine personal healing. Dearest angels, spirits, and guides, please hold us safe from taking on each other's stuff as you connect all who are here in a way that supports the best interest of each woman. We're all here for support and community and connection. Help us to understand one another, to know that we're not alone, and to trust that we become stronger when we raise each other up. The purpose of today's session is to support these women on all levels as they raise their confidence and self-worth and release themselves from guilt and fear. Please release these beautiful divine women from any feelings of lack or scarcity or failure. Release them from guilt and shame. Help them to see their fear for what it is, a form of self-protection. It's an armor to prevent them from future harm. Ladies, if you're ready, say, please release me. And thank your fears for their service. And ask them to move on to serve another. Please help these women to feel safe and secure, prosperous, grounded. Help them find trust in themselves. Support them as they nurture themselves and others, as they bear witness to their own emotions, as they express their innermost desires and give themselves permission to transform and to thrive. Hold them as they experience the true depth of their own power and will. Lift them up as they rise and expand on their own. Open their hearts to unconditional love, healing, receiving, and forgiveness. Remind them that they always have the permission to speak, to share their truth, and to create their own future. Nurture them as they learn how to tap into their own intuition and live from a place of trust and knowing. Connect them to their own inner guides and angels so that they move forward with continued support. If there's anything else you want to release or receive, you may speak it now. As we close, I'd like to ask that you help these women to be honest and kind with themselves as they go forward in their day. Empower them to love themselves and trust their own inner wisdom. Love them unconditionally so that they may be reminded how this feels and they can tap into this energy for themselves. Please disconnect us from one another now so that we may go about our day unhindered or distracted. Ladies, when you're ready, you take a deep breath and release. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right. How you guys feel?
Good.
Cool.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Do you guys have any questions? Do you want to share how it went for you?
I can share that when we first started, my heart was racing. Like all of a sudden I was like really having to connect with my breath to slow things down. So that was kind of, it was like, what? I felt like I was running, but I was just sitting. I was like, oh. But then it calmed down. So
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I like this idea of telling things to, what did you say? Go on somewhere else that's needed. I don't need you. I like that. That felt good. It was like oh, good.
Yeah, I still am very fearful and make a lot of decisions out of fear. And someone taught me that once, and I was like, that is like the coolest tip ever. Like to just like not see it as a bad thing. I think first of all, it's really helpful to not see the fear as a bad thing, to see it as part of you that wants to help you, and it's trying to do a good thing. It's trying to do the right thing. It's just not always as helpful as it means to be. And then to know that you don't have to be burdened with it if you don't want to be. And so if you're done with it and you're ready to move on, you can just ask it to leave. And I think it also helps to ask it to go someplace that it is needed, right? Because somebody else does need that fear and does need that boundary and that protection for the moment. And so it doesn't give it that negativity. It gives it a positive spin, and while also giving you the opportunity to be free.
Yeah, and I didn't think of it as like serving a purpose, like protection, and again, so in defining it and just listening how you were framing it was like that in itself made it lighter, or like you said, less attached, or whatever the word is, like anxious, or like sometimes when you know it's there, but it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Julie, anything?
Always, yeah, put me on the spot.
You don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
No, I mean, well, I know, I mean, from this and other things that you and I've done is that I can tell I feel a little bit more relaxed and calm, but I know I need to still work on like not being able to shut everything else out. And we've talked about that before. So like when we're going through this, I still have that part where my mind, even though I'm telling it to stop, doesn't stop. So I have a hard time getting to the place that everybody else is at. Does that make sense?
Okay. Well, first I would say challenge that belief of where everybody else is, because
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, I don't know where you think I am, but my grocery list came up and my to-dos, and then I'm like, and actually I'm pretty sure, Beth, you shared this with me, or if not, it was, but like when that happens, that meditation that you recommended, just go back to your breath. Like, if you get like some more sense, then just all of a sudden I'm like thinking about where my breath is, and it kind of brings you back. And even if you have to, well, for me, like, in the 4 minutes, I probably had to do it 16 times. So
yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Sometimes we, even I think even for trained masters and, people that meditate all the time, some days are easy, and it's really easy to clear your mind and just be in the moment. And then other days, the grocery lists and the things that you didn't even remember you remembered start creeping up and chattering in your ear. And it can be frustrating to think like I was progressing and what happened, and I must be broken and I must be doing it wrong. And no, everybody's different. Every moment is different. You're different today than you were yesterday, and you'll be different again tomorrow, and maybe even in 5 minutes. So just be patient with yourself and love yourself, and grant yourself grace for those moments of humanness. And just know that it will pass. And maybe next time or the time after that or the time after that will be easy. And until then, Julie, going back to your question, what I find, what I learned back when I had PTSD and a lot of anxiety and whatnot was that it's really important to practice this stuff when things are easy, right? So we don't try to use these tools when everything's falling apart. You can, right? And there's a time and a place for that, and it can be helpful. But really, just like running or anything else that you want to work towards and strive. If you wanted to run a 5K, you wouldn't just show up and run the 5K that day. Well, my husband would, but most people
I
don't.
would.
So much.
Oh, I'm going to skip the training. I'm just going to do it.
Okay, let's have a triathlon, right?
Yeah, no, I would just skip it.
Right. So maybe go with a little bit bigger, right? Marathon, triathlon, right? Most people, right, especially if they're have their best self-care in mind, right? They're not just going to go out on the day of the event and try and do it all having had no practice, right? We need to train for those events, and just it's the same thing with our self-care and quieting the mind. Is you need to train for those moments of high stress and anxiety and all those things that creep in when life gets hard. You need to train for them, and we train for them when things are easy and when it's on our terms and we have that control and some of that stuff. And so practicing, even if it's just for a minute, even if it's just 20 seconds, set your alarm for several times throughout the day for 20 seconds. I'm just going to sit and close my eyes and breathe, and no judgment about how many times my mind wanders off in those 20 seconds. No judgment, just practice. Start with 5 seconds. Start with 5 seconds twice a day, and
I can do that.
Push yourself to grow, but don't make it so hard that you can't do it, right? Just like if you were going to start eating healthier, and you're not going to start out with like, I'm going to go all raw today, right? With no plan, no recipe, no nothing, right?
Right.
You're going to say like, well, maybe this week I'll add in more water, and next week I'll add in more salad, and and go from there if it's going to be sustainable. Same thing with this. Start with little manageable pieces that seem totally doable, and then keep challenging yourself to grow that to 5 minutes, or to start with something that's recorded so that there's something to listen to keep bringing you back to the moment. Sitting in silence is really, really hard. Even for somebody that practices a lot, sitting in absolute silence and guiding your own meditation is really, really hard. But listening to a guided meditation is, easier. And short ones are easier than long ones, and you'll get there. That's the thing.
I'm optimistic. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So I think that, does anybody have any questions or anything else they want to share? Okay. Well, thank you both for being here, and yeah, you're welcome. I think you guys are both on my mailing list, so you don't need those links. I will put them in the group, both the invitation for this event and on my Facebook group. So Julie, I don't know if you're in there. At least I don't think you are. So
no, I was going to say I don't. Yeah,
I can send you guys information for that, and I'll also post that somewhere where people can find it.
I'll go look for it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, great. Well, thank you guys for being here, and have a wonderful day and the rest of your weekend.
It was great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
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 Bye.